Hello and welcome to Invictus Motors. We've got with us here a Defender 90. This is on a 2012 plate, so a much more newer, desirable and a slightly rare Defender, and very close to the discontinued date, which happened in approximately 2016. Obviously they did a very limited run, I believe in 2018, but let's review it, and perhaps in this video we'll cover a couple of things in terms of why you should consider this Defender, why they are so desirable, so after, in terms of the character, the drive, and what it's like owning one of these. Let's get right into it. If you are looking for a Defender 90, especially one that is much newer and that's absolutely, in my opinion, in pretty sublime and pristine condition, then this has it all. So before we delve into the engine, I'll just tell you slightly bit about the maintenance record of this, and hopefully that sort of gives you an idea what one should be looking at from a maintenance point of view on these. They're extremely easy to work on, and throughout its life from 2012, the kind of maintenance items had is sort of front calipers, front discs, front pads, and the rear pads. Essentially, the engine sort of mechanical itemy work that's been done are things like the air cooler housing, the turbo hose, the air house, the MAF sensor, very tiny, small items. They don't really cost too much. In terms of now the engine, because you're obviously curious, what's this engine like? This is the 2.2 litre Ford Puma engine in this. So extremely reliable, highly desirable in the sense that you actually get better emissions, better combined MPG, and overall it's just a more reliable engine compared to its predecessor. Yes, they are, in some ways, one could argue, with time and with age, they have become more refined and in some instances more computerized. But at the same time, there's a lot going for it in terms of having one of these engines than its predecessor, the TDCi engines. In terms of BHP, the 2.2 litre engine produces 122 brake horsepower, and obviously you've got this beautiful 6-speed manual transmission. In terms of torque, these are incredibly torquey, and you've got the tow bar, so in case you need to be towing something to the back of it, that it produces 265 foot-pound of torque. Combined MPG, you're looking at 28 miles per gallon, and in terms of a motorway, you're looking at 32 miles per gallon, which is absolutely superb. And if you're going to be driving mostly around in a village or in a sort of a city environment, you're looking at about 24 miles per gallon. Let me put the hood down and tell you a little bit more about this static condition. In terms of spec, it's finished in this really gorgeous Santorini black. I mean, these cars essentially are nut and bolt constructions. So we've removed this grille at the front. All of the front was removed. All has been resprayed and all done up really nicely, including having the front bar repainted. In terms of the off-road tires, they're in absolutely pristine condition. They're not sort of cracking or damaged in any way, form or shape, and they look absolutely amazing. They fill up the wheel arch spaces extremely well. And if you were to come onto the inside of the vehicle, you get this really lovely step. You just step onto that to climb into the vehicle, so very handy. This is essentially an all original Land Rover. The classic analog buttons. The beauty of what these cars are is keeping it as original as possible. So essentially everything is original. We're going to take it out on a test drive and talk to you a little bit more about the character of it. Let's now go to the back. You've got your tow bar. You've obviously got the mud guards there, or the flaps, or whatever they're called, so extremely handy. You've got this beautiful 4-seat arrangement, which if you've got dogs or if you've got kids, they're extremely handy. You have obviously got the 4 seat belts here at the back as well, but it's a very intimate, it's a very lovely, cute, characterful experience, and that is, I think, very difficult to get from modern cars nowadays. So if you're into like sort of hikes, fishing, and you might like doing a bit of off-roading on the green lanes, this is the way to go. This is to go ahead. If I end up keeping it in stock for any longer, I'll definitely be doing a little bit of off-roading perhaps. But yeah, let's just jump into it, drive it, and just tell you about what it's like to drive, especially the 6-speed transmission, gear changes, and the kind of speed one can get this one up to in comparison to the previous generation, which I think struggle a little bit beyond 60 miles an hour, whereas this is extremely comfortable at about 70 miles an hour, and perhaps even beyond. Now onto the driving part. These, as I've said, full of offering you a beautiful experience from the minute you get into it, from putting the key in the ignition and just waiting for all the electronics to speak to each other. And talking about electronics, one of the beautiful thing about it is, as a matter of fact, it doesn't have too many electronics. And I think this is one of the very, very nice things about it. So let's start it up. I want to make sure that my door is shut properly. The window buttons are here. Let's put the seat back a little and put it in first gear. And the clutch, essentially on this generation Defender, is also soft and makes it extremely easy to engage your first and your second gear, whereas in the generation before, unfortunately, it wasn't very straightforward and the clutch was extremely heavy. And I think in no way, form or shape, I think what I encourage it to some people, especially if they're used to the newer cars, well, the newer cars, and then taking it step to a Defender, I think this is one of the very key things that one needs to have in a car. We're in a bit of an off-road sort of a track. And the noses is essentially, I haven't clipped the seat belts at the back end because I wanted it out on display just to show that they're all there. So that's just one by one the seat belts dropping down. We're in a bit of an off-road track here, which leads up to our business and away from our business. And essentially it's a good way to actually check what it's like to drive one of these. This comes essentially with an almost 12 months MOT. It's had a fair bit of work done, such as the front wiper blades and a couple of the lights replaced and a little bit of other minor work. But essentially this is in pretty fantastic condition. The service history supports that. We were at about 2,500 RPM from going to second to third gear. Now at 3,000 RPM, third gear, 40 miles an hour. Fourth gear, we're at 50 miles an hour. And it's very comfortable, not noisy and not sort of raw and essentially as agriculture as the previous generation. So a big massive step up. And obviously the 2.2 litre Ford Puma engine that I said gives you better emission, better MPG. BHP feels similar, but the top speed on the books is 90 miles an hour. And it comfortably does 70, 75, even 80 miles an hour. There aren't any knocks or bangs or any noises coming out anywhere from the suspension. The steering feels nice and soft and easy and essentially feeling electrically assisted, and it's very responsive and very precise, and essentially I couldn't expect it to be any better than what it is. The turning circle on these Defenders, they're not brilliant, as you saw me turn up there to the right, but once you get into one of these Defenders, especially when you're driving them, you essentially want to switch off your phones and put everything away and all the distractions and all the modern day gadgets that you find on the modern cars nowadays. You kind of switch your brain off, get into this and focus on enjoying the driving experience and at the same time enjoying the experience of wherever you're headed towards. And essentially for a lot of us, owning one of these cars and driving one of these cars, it's a bit of a lifestyle change as well. And if you're if you're a builder or if you're somebody that likes outdoorsy activities, or you've got dogs, these are, absolutely spot on and offers essentially all the space you need. And you can also modify these by having some ladders installed at the back. Number one, you can have this cage put on at the top should you need a bit more room and space. Let's put it in reverse. I've gone too wide here. That's the last seat belt that's just dropped. From an ownership point of view, you wouldn't be expected to do any sort of works on this. Both mechanically and cosmetically, it's in very good condition. In terms of future values, the later Defenders have held their values extremely well, purely because of, these are very desirable in terms of what they offer, and not many people are looking at essentially chopping and changing them, and you'll find in more instances than not owners keeping this for a very long time, and this is what we have found. So from a driving point of view, the gears change extremely well. This is obviously the 6-speed transmission, and all the gears change with a lot of comfort. We're in 5th now, doing 55 miles an hour, going to 6th, and it does all that very comfortably. And as we're on these countryside roads, 4th or 5th is absolutely fine. I've already been through sort of the engine, but just to sort of slightly recap one more time, it's the 2.2 litre Ford Puma engine in this, which produces 122 bhp, and from an engine displacement point of view, this is obviously 2.2 litres, but it's turbocharged and it's 4-cylinder. It produces collectively 122 bhp. Very torquey. These cars are 265 foot-pound of torque. Top speed is 90 miles an hour, and MPG wise combined, you're looking at about 28, 29, and on the motorway you're essentially getting about 34 miles per gallon. So hopefully from a test drive I've covered everything you need to know. They're a lot of fun, and essentially there are a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of aftermarket bits and mods and changes you can do, like the Angel LED headlights, but nothing beats an original beautifully looking Defender, and to me this is what that is, and I absolutely love and adore this about this Defender that we have in stock. And it sort of leaves you a lot of room to change it and to modify and to play around with it, to kind of make it what you want it to be. So thank you for tagging along onto the Defender part, onto the test drive part, and we've got to talk a little bit more about the paperwork, and that's us done for the video today. From a paperwork point of view, this is actually a vehicle that's got extremely low owners. So from brand new, it's got 2 owners, and the current owner was actually a lady owner, and she's had it from June 2014. If you need to know, she was based in Solihull. It's also got a certification from a company called Before and After Rust Proofing. Essentially, what this vehicle has had it's been rust proofed with wax oil under high pressure. It cost a total of £588, so essentially very good paperwork to have. We've also got all the original owner's manuals and all the paperwork you get from the main dealer when it's purchased brand new. The service record, again, another really key item. It's had all of its services done, so essentially the first few services done at Jaguar Land Rover in Gaydon. So you've got the 2013, you've got essentially the 2015, 2017, and it mentions what sort of works it's had, 2018, 2020, and going ahead, the 2021, 2022, and they've actually got comments here in terms of the additional work that's been done, and it's all been noted down here. And the last service essentially was done at 87,147 miles, where they've had the oil cooler housing replaced. This was done on the 5th of April 2022 at Cotterell Auto Services. They're based in Kenilworth. So very good service history, and thank you actually for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the video and the review, and hopefully I will get you to consider buying the Defender 90 or the Defender 110. And don't forget to press the subscribe button, gives us a thumbs up, and thank you for watching one more time, purely because you are actually helping towards a good cause, because all the money we raise from our YouTube channel gets donated to a UK registered charity. I'm from Afghanistan, and the charity, as a matter of fact, helps a lot, both from a development work point of view and also from an educational point of view in Afghanistan. So we've got some pretty big projects out there, and there are not many actually international charities out there helping in Afghanistan, considering they've had close to 40 plus years worth of wars. So they're in an absolute humanitarian crisis. So once again, thank you for watching the video. Every single second, every single minute has contributed towards a very good righteous cause. Thanks once again, and bye-bye.